Nameka Sareninia Meka, welcome Saratake Sareninia Meka, happy Monday. Nake Sareninia Meka. As you can tell, I really love Mondays. Urake Sarenani Meka. So for me, Mondays are, like I've said this before, like a new canvas to play. Nanaka Sareninia Meka. To play, to use your creativity, to just enjoy your presence. Saratake Sareninia Meka. And it's another day that you are alive. Saratake Sareninia Meka. And I'm being... How many of us really get that opportunity of having this amazing experience? Even in the moments that are very challenging, you are here present. And that's a gift. That's a miracle in itself. You are a miracle. It's so good to be here, you guys. It's really, really good to be here. And there was actually like some really beautiful messages coming through when I was in nature with my puppy, just walking him before the live video. And it's something so special that we actually get to witness and experience nature and listen to the elements in our own way. And that for me is really a part of us, you know. It's not something that like it's a remembrance aspect of ourselves, and it's something that is already in us, you know, like literally paying attention to your own language, to the language of every little part of your being. And it's something so beyond divine when I think about it, you know. Really, as we really start to tune in to the subtle energies of life and nature, to remember more than what it really happened before, or really what is going on at this moment, you know. We are so conditioned at time, and perhaps it's just a way of living, you know, that you're just paying attention to, like, you know, the speech, right, to this kind of information, to this kind of communication. But then there's a really massive loss in the communication of nature, in the communication of the elements, in the communication of animals. And that is something that really, of course, I know that is coming through. There's so many of us, there's so many brothers and sisters that are just remembering that part of ourselves, you know, and then remembering that, like, a tree is alive, the elements are alive, and they have a different way of communicating with each of us. But then that remembrance is something that activates, like, also your inner strength, your inner power, your inner confidence, like the superhuman vision and all those things that rise up, you know, through the awakening process. And at the same time, the wisdom of the elders, the wisdom of your lineage. Wow, I'm so fascinated by that, honestly, because I didn't grow up like this, you know. Yes, my grandma was very in tune, and that part of my family is from the rainforest in Peru, and so they're so in tune with nature, you know. But it's not something that was like kind of passed down on me in the form of like talking about it, you know. It was passed down through me in the energetic form, of course, of my blood and my lineage. But it was something that I didn't even know it existed. As a kid I did, and then I forgot until, you know, the awakening happened. And again, as I was walking the puppy there and just really tuning in into the energies of the trees, it's like, what is in our best interest to really talk about today? And the thing it was about caring, you know. And something that the tree said to me was like, why is it the humans, you know, take such a good care of other beings, other humans included, right? And animals, of course. They don't really take such a good care of themselves, you know. So then I was like, why is it, you know? Because trust me, I've been there too as well. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Especially, you know, in my last puppy, the one that passed away last year. Oh my gosh, she was my baby. And granted, my puppy right now, he's my baby too, but but like all my fur babies have been my babies, you know. And she came into my life when I was like highly suicidal. And it was like I wasn't even thinking about being suicidal at times because I was taking care of her. And just when you see a puppy that's full of life, it's like, what else can take you away from that? You know, it's like, oh my God, you're so freaking cute. Yeah. Oh, yes, for sure. Thank you. I'd love to. Please do. Please do. I would love to have you in the studio, or just, you know, kind of meet up anyway. So anyways, and so then I really asked the trees and the nature there, like, yeah, why is it that? And so what they were telling me, because I was like, and also please tell me, like, through the live video, right? That well, there's this code in the humans, that it says that for some reason you're not very good at taking care of yourself, but then you really are good at taking care of others. So forget about yourself. But then this question opened up in me about, yeah, okay, totally understand it because I've lived it. However, what about that part? That part that says like, well, if the way that you love yourself is the way that you can love others. And then so what I was hearing was like, for sure, there's some people that don't really love themselves. I'm going to say in quotations, right? They don't really love themselves as much, but they really can love others in a way a little different and deeper than themselves. But what happens is through that love, what they think that they're actually loving, the other little being, whether it's a human or an animal or a tree or a plant, that is loving them back even more, that gets an activation and in the being, in the system of the human. So let's just tune in into that, because there was like so much that I was like, wow, that's really cool that is happening. Sending you so much love, Julie. I hope you find peace and inner clarity and love. And my puppy is grabbing my journal. Okay. So anyways, so let's just tune in into that. Here's your bone, baby. So let's just tune in into that, because how amazing is that through love, as somebody else loves us, it doesn't even matter the being, okay? As somebody else loves us, that opens up a space within us and we get activated through a love. Because, okay, like going back into zooming everything out, right? Like we're not different than anybody. And the love is love. So it's not that the love in one way is better than the other one. Unconditional love is unconditional love, and it's divine energy and it's life force energy and etc. And that's what it is, right? So as one little being, and you can really, what I'm hearing right now is that you can actually, whenever you're struggling and somebody shows you love, use that as an activation within yourself. So then you can love yourself even more through the love that you're experiencing in that moment, okay? Because as one being is looking at you, and puppies are great at this. And when I mean puppies, I also mean like older dogs. I just call them puppies, period. Okay, so it's like when puppies are great at this, because when they look at you, they're just looking at divine love. They don't even care how you look like. They just know your essence and they know your love. And for them, you're everything, right? So like the pure unconditional love of an animal can really help you to tune in into your own unconditional love. What I mean by that is that really remembering, the remembrance that like you are deeply loved, that like something in you actually does love itself, but it was just conditioned and the superhuman vision was clouded. And then you're finding your way, right? This is why it's really awesome when somebody's depressed, when somebody has anxiety, to have a doggy around, because the dog is like, this is how my puppy is anyway. And so like, they're like looking at you, and you're literally their whole world. And in a way you really are, So in that space of feeling that you are somebody else's whole world, this is when like a channel opens up. So remember the space in between beings, the space in between words, the space in between this physical body and the camera, right? So the space in between two different beings, this is where the alchemy begins. So as somebody, and it's not just about a dog or any kind of animal, but it could be any human that really like looks at you and never met before in this existence, and just has to be very nice to you, and you start to chat and whatever, have a really good time, okay? So as this being is showing you care and really deep unconditional love in any kind of level, then you, by feeling that and being receptive of that, you begin your alchemy again in the space in between the two beings. So in this space right here in between, imagine these are the two beings, yeah? In the space between my palms, this is where you begin to be receptive, because then a part of you, as you are experiencing this deep love for somebody else, begins to be like, I am actually very lovable, or I'm actually really fun to be around, or people really like my energy. So any conditions that were in the mind, they're like, you were not good enough, or you were not funny enough, or people really didn't really like you, or like to talk about you or approach you, whatever, begin to be like questioned by the pure essence of you, knowing like, yeah, that's not true. Look what is happening right now. So by you acknowledging that, the space in between, this is where the alchemy happens, because there's like a bubble of communication and a portal that says, yes, I'm good enough, or yes, like I'm worthy of having new friends, whatever it is, So let's just stick with that. So I'm worthy, I'm being seen. There you go. I'm being seen. Okay. So then in this portal in between spaces, then there is one channel that goes from this being to that portal, and from that portal to your actually system. Yeah. Your personal system. So from this personal system, the channel opens up and begins to channel energy to you. So then as it comes into your system, it begins to spread all throughout you this thing of I am being seen. And this is an experience that is actually being a perfect mirror for myself, knowing that whatever was in my system is not really truth. But this being that I just met, quote unquote, just met, like is helping me see that, is helping me remember that, going back into the remembrance. So this is why it's so good. We are social beings, you guys. Like it was highly difficult for, I believe, all of us to be in lockdown and not be able to travel and all these kinds of things, right? Because then we like to be around other people. And of course, there is this period of us, and this also gets shown in your birth chart, that there's a period of like about 2 years that we are more sociable, and another ones that we're more introverted. But that doesn't mean that you don't like to be around people. When you don't really like to be around people, now there's another code that's going behind the system saying that you're not worthy of having friends, that you're not being seen, that you are not liked, and etc. Yeah. So this is why where we are going through this awakening process, is so important to be in community. In whichever community it is, it can for sure start like this in a virtual, right? But I so recommend a community that's physical, because touch, because hugs, because really looking at the person in the eyes can help you remember how important you are and how special you are. At times we freaking forget, and of course I've done that myself. And then when I'm looking at the eyes of a brother or a sister that is just like, you're so fucking powerful, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for that reminder. And so this is why community is important, especially when you're going through the awakening process, because then there's all these conditions that go up, that come up to the surface. The condition that you're going crazy, that people are not going to understand, that people don't go through that you're the only one going through that and nobody will understand you. Oh my gosh, there's so many of those, But in reality, that's not true. It's just something that has been in your system for so long that the awakening process just allowed it to come up to the surface, so then you can go back into the remembrance of how amazing you are, about really tuning into your gifts and allow those gifts to really come through for you to have the amazing experience that you can actually have in this lifetime. So this is why it's so important, and I really recommend that. Of course, I understand, based on my own experience, that at the beginning I for sure felt like that, and I didn't even have anybody. I didn't even know how to open up to people about, like, okay, I'm going through this major trances, I'm seeing all these things, and I'm seeing all these deities and all these devils, and I don't even know, So then, of course, my head was like, yeah, they're gonna think you're freaking crazy. And so then, I let it be, and I concentrated on the energetics. But then once I found my community, and one of them, because I have many little hubs throughout the world, then I was like, wow, how powerful is that? Because again, not only they are your beautiful mirror, because not only your romantic relationship is a powerful mirror, any relationship, including with animals in nature, is really a powerful mirror for yourself, to see what is coming through, to see how powerful you are, or even some conditions that are coming through. But when you have your community, and it's again physical community, Hi Susan. It's so good to see you. I really miss you. I have to say that. I was thinking about you the other day. But so like when you have a physical person or people, right? In a circle, in a group, and then you're sharing experiences and then you're seeing the vulnerability. There's something so much that happens in the physical when you're around people than in this kind of space. That doesn't mean that this space is not powerful, because it definitely is, you know, and we have been learning to be in a space like this. But then the touch, okay? And this is something that it really activates another inner alchemy. The touch, as somebody is hugging you, as somebody's holding your hand, as somebody's really just holding you as you're crying, or they're just witnessing you, placing one hand on your shoulder or on your thigh. Now that little touch, you know, that little touch, goodness, it activates another inner alchemy within you. And the inner alchemy that says like, I am deeply loved. I am fully seen and I'm fully accepted. Because it's very powerful when somebody sees you really just collapsing as everything is shedding and you're coming back into your truth and your power. Amazing, Susan. And so in that space, you know, when you're so vulnerable, you're so raw, and you're just crying and you're not understanding, or maybe you're screaming, maybe you're yelling, maybe you're just like freaking the fuck out, and they're witnessing you, and really they have this hand on you and saying, I see you, sister. Oh, I see you, brother. You know, that part of you that they felt that you were so different, nobody will understand you, subsides, and it goes into like, I am seen and I am loved, and this is my family. And this is where like one of the most powerful inner alchemies happens, really. Because then you are accepting the journey. You are accepting yourself. You are accepting how, in a way, different your life is from the previous experience of your life. Or how different your life is from your entire family. And in that moment, there is not like, I wish I wasn't this way, you know? It's just like, yeah, I love myself. I love myself, and that's it. And I accept myself, and this is where I'm meant to be, with these people witnessing me, with me like crying my eyes out or screaming, and they're just there seeing me in awe, in awe. This is one of the things that like I really, and I know I've said this before, but I'm such a nerd about the awakening process, because witnessing somebody coming back to themselves is one of the most beautiful things that we can witness, in my opinion anyway. And really seeing them like, hi, Jennifer. And so like, and really seeing their bodies, you know, and this is one of the things that I ask my clients, like, are you cracking? Where are you cracking? What is happening with the crack? Because then the body's coming alive, and seeing that in the inner dense space, which is the sound healing that I facilitate, is just like marvelous, honestly. Because again, you know, as a teacher, as a guide, you know, as an alchemist, to really hold space for you, it means more than you can actually imagine. Because it's just like, wow, to witness you as you're coming back to your own truth, to your own power, to your own inner alchemy, and just being so confident in who you are and not giving up, even if the journey feels that it's very rocky at times, and you continue. It's like, holy smokes, now that is you. Now that is your power coming through. Even against all odds, if you might feel that like you can't even do it, but against all odds, you are there showing up. Because there's no like, there's a bunch of odds, you know? It's just, you know, it's happening, and you know that it doesn't even matter how it shows up. It doesn't even matter if there are many odds that you think that come up, and all this like, all these things that get on the way, all these rocks, you know, and a really rocky journey. You don't really care about that, because that's one aspect of the mind saying like, yeah, it's gonna be freaking challenging, and this is gonna happen. And there's the other side of you that says like, no, that's just another condition of the mind. In reality, it's not really that challenging, because it's already in you. that strength is already guiding you. This is why at times, if you felt that like you didn't even know how you were walking, or you didn't even know how you continue to go on, especially in very difficult moments of your life, it was that power within you that held you and guided you. It was the intelligence of the physical body saying like, I know that right now you're just struggling, but I have you. Let me walk you through this. And then he walked you. And then you were able to come back from whatever space that you were in. It's like, holy shit, how did I just go from point A to point B? Because I didn't even know that I could walk at that moment in time. And you knew that something bigger than you had you. Because again, your physical body, it is your best friend, and it has its own intelligence. And that intelligence wants to be best friend with your own intelligence. So then everything can work in a more gentle way, because it doesn't need to be such a struggle. It doesn't need to be such a struggle. It feels like such a struggle because, again, there's so many conditions and there's so many clouds clouding your superhuman vision. There's so many of those, you know? I mean, look at the planet overall, right? That the planet believes the war is much better, that the planet believes that this country is much better, that the planet believes that this currency is much better, or that this kind of skin color is much better, or this language is much better. I mean, there's so much freaking separation in the planet as it is. And when you look at the planet as a whole, you know, even the lines of territory of countries is separation in itself. So of course we're going to have that within our beings, because we're not separate from the planet. We're not separate from those people that really believe the wars are better, you know. And I'm not saying like my belief system is better than theirs. It's just what it is, you know. That's their own story. This is my own story. You have your own story. But what I'm saying is that there's already so much separation on the planet that of course breaking through all those codes might feel really challenging. Because imagine, again, not only from the collective, how long the collective has had a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of loving, a way of seeing themselves. The collective, again, the big cloud that is above us, that has just so much potency around, especially when we're awakening and then we're tuning into so much energy, and we might believe that something is ours when it really isn't. That is something the collective is using you to release of the planet, yeah? But at the same time, like I talked last week about like all these codes and conditions from your family lineage, how long have they been there? Now, of course, it's not like things will disappear like this, yeah? It's a process, just like it's a process of like, I don't really like to call it healing, because in reality, like you're perfect as you are. It's just about like shifting the vision and tuning back in your superhuman vision and coming back into your remembrance. Imagine there is like, you know, you have a core essence of you, right? That is like pure, perfect, purely divine, and it knows everything what to do. And their intuition is like this. It doesn't even question anything because it knows, you know, and it's guided and it fully trusts. Again, just like a rose trusts that it's going to bloom. And even during winter time, it knows it needs to rest and then it comes back up, right? Just like the trees, as I explained last week. And so you have that core essence of you. And then there is another, the word that is coming is like subcore, okay? But it's kind of like on top, yeah? And it's not like, it doesn't mean that that core essence is not there. It just means that the grip on the top layer, it was just so strong that it just went like sucked it in, yeah? That it sucked it in, because there is so much power in the collective. There is so much power in the codes of the lineage. There's so much power of like the way that we have been taught to think, to dress, to act, to like whatever it is, you know, like there's, and especially, you know, and I'm talking again from like listening to my clients and also my story and seeing my family, there were things like, you do it this way, you know, because this is how the family is. And of course, as a kid, it's like, okay, you know, this is how we do things. But is it really? That's how the lineage has been doing that for so long. And then here you go, you know, that you began to have different thoughts, or maybe the inquiry of like, but what if I don't do it this way? What if I approach it in a different direction? And as I'm doing this, my puppy is like, he is dreaming. He is helping me in the dream space. So, you know, you had that thought. And the thought, again, as we said before, is something that has already been brewing up in the system of your lineage. But you were the one that had the courage and said, okay, I'm done with this. Let me experience it a different way, because I already know how this feels like. And this is where everything began to come up, you guys. The inner core of you, the moment that you decided and said like, I think and I feel that I must go into a different direction, and I really feel it in me, and I don't even know where that's coming from. I just know that I have to do it. This is your inner core. This is your inner essence. That's the inner fire that is just like, yes, follow that. As you continue to follow that, it begins to light up even more and pulsate. Now, this pulsation, what it does is that it releases the tightness on the top layer. So imagine it was kind of like glued a little bit, and it had like those like sticky, what do they call it in English? Sometimes you have those sticky things that you can put in the windows, right? So like it was kind of glue and it had those sticky things. But the moment that this pulsation of your inner fire begins to be in a way that you feel it so strongly in your solar plexus, in your diaphragm, in your heart, sometimes even in the throat, sometimes there's like chills overall, then that sticky thing begins to release a little bit. So like these little sticky things, right, on the window, when they are wet in a way, they're not they can stay, but then there's a moment where they come out, right? So that fire and that I'm seeing a kind of like fog, and like smoke, it releases the tightness of those sticky things. And then the tightness on the top layer begins to be like so like this, and it just releases the grip a little bit. And then you can begin to see that as a condition rather than believe that that's you. Because then you're following that inner fire, you're following that inner guidance, you're following that, the core of you. How amazing is that? Now when I'm seeing this, I'm like, holy shit, we're so powerful. So this is why I'm fascinated by all of this. Because then it's almost like this, kind of like when you put a hat on and you take it off, right? When you put a hat on, it doesn't mean that that's actually your head, right? You take it off whenever you can take it off. And so then you can see it. Oh, this is a hat. This is my head. So now as this comes off, then you're like, oh, okay, I can definitely see this kind of condition. Okay. And I can really realize that this is not me, but I have believed it is me. So then how can I alchemize this? How can I integrate it? And that is the power, and the very similar thing as going into the eye of the storm to see everything, right? It's just that when we say eye of the storm, at times it's like, oh shoot, there's a big storm coming in, or we're already in the big storm. But this is really a process as you continue to open up the superhuman eye, your intuitive being, because it's not just about the center, it's the the intuition of the entire being as a whole. And then you can actually feel it whenever it's like, and whenever it's like coming out. Whenever it's really holding so tight into you, it's just because you actually are so scared to let it go, because that was your identity. How could I move away from this identity? Hello, how can I move away from this identity if this has been me for so long? And who would I be if I let go of this identity? But what if you let go of this identity? And I don't mean as in like, okay, take off the layer and throw it away. But I mean as like, it has been your identity. And of course, it's a part of you. But rather than pushing it away, and rather than like saying, I can't let you go, being like, what if we transform? So this is again where the alchemy happens. What if we transform? What if, like, yes, we were this identity, and of course this identity has served us so well for so long, because it did. It brought you to this point in time that you are right now, or any given point in time in your entire story in this existence, But like honoring that identity, not pushing it away, not saying like, okay, bye, you don't serve me anymore. But like working with it and being like, okay, opening up that communication. How can we transform? Are you willing to transform? What if we were like this amazing being already, and then we have this opening to just be an even more powerful being, so intuitive and so with our gifts? I mean, the part of you that doesn't want to be forgotten it has that kind of code of being forgotten because it feels that you're pushing it away, you know? And so here, the thing is about what if we really transform? What if there's another space that opens up as we merge together? And then we're curious about what we can do and how we can be and how we can experience this life. It's so much powerful than being like, okay, you did not serve me well, bye. Because that, again, is going to bring up more tension in your being. And again, there's enough tension because we all hold some kind of tension for the collective and the entire planet, yeah? So in this moment, it's just like, okay, how can I actually hold myself better? How can you treat yourself like you treat a puppy? How can you treat yourself like you treat your kids if you have kids? How can you treat yourself like you treat nature if you love nature and you love to nurture nature? Because again, you know, then there's the bigger space that opens up as you're willing to really nurture yourself. And that alchemy that I was talking about at the beginning of the live video, that you can experience, you know, a deeper opening through the love of somebody else. Then imagine how much powerful it is when you have the love of somebody else and then your own love. And the curiosity of being like, what if? What if I actually allow myself to be loved? What if I actually allow myself to be loved by me too? And then that's just like what I was saying about the portal in the center between the two beings and the channels. Well, the portal just goes like, and there's an explosion of love, literally. This is what I'm saying. And so, you know, this is a really powerful way of experiencing yourself through the mirrors, of course. You know, through the mirrors, but also through your own mirror, which is you. And there's nothing in you that will ever be forgotten in this space, you know? There's nothing in you that will ever be forgotten. They all live within you. Every single aspect of yourself will live within you. And you can always tune into them. This is also part of shadow work, yeah? When you tune in to different aspects of yourself and there have been hurting, or not seen, or in love, whatever, and then you're nurturing them. It's a really beautiful space. So they're always inside of you. So any kind of identity that you have ever had is still there, you know? And you can tune in into that depending on like how you want to lead something that is happening in your life. So you will never be forgotten in any kind of aspect. It's just something in the mind, some kind of condition, you know? That says like, oh, here, through this process, you will forget about yourself and then you will not remember who you are. And like, that is really a big code, but a code to make us scared of our own power. Because you're already you. You remember that what we were talking about? That inner bubble of you, your core? You already are it. You already are it. It's just like the more that you allow that to come through, the more that grip on the top layer can release, you know? It's not like a claw just going like this to your core. It will release more so that you can be face to face with it. This is really the inner mirror that is so powerful, you guys. You can see it eye to eye. And rather than being scared of it, or rather than pushing it aside, you say, I see you. I see you and I love you. And now we can work through this. Would you like to be in partnership with me? I'm just saying something, you know. This is, again, something that I also do, you know. It's like, how can I listen to you? How can I hold you, right? So again, going back how we started the live video with the messages of nature, that, you know, humans are so good at holding space for others and loving others, and they forget about themselves to the point that they might even harm themselves. And of course, there's a moment of like sacrifice, right? For example, when you first have a baby, I mean, it's all about like taking care of this little being that has no idea what to do with like the fingers and the feet, you know, very similar with a puppy, right? But then like there's still different practices that you can do to just be with yourself, to use the mirror as you're actually taking care of something that in a way doesn't even know how to take care of themselves, to use that imagery to be a perfect mirror of yourself. And being like, well, if I can take care of this little being, of this little plant, or this little animal, of this little baby, of this little tree, that means that I actually have the ability to take care of myself. Because you're already doing it for somebody else. It's just there's again, the cloudiness that really says that you don't, that you don't. And allowing that space again as you are in this. And I invite you to really kind of just like go into life and your journey maybe this week and being like, when does this happen? And then when you catch it, it's like, can you allow that moment to ignite that inner alchemy between the two of you? So then it comes back into you and going back more into the remembrance of how deeply loved you are and how powerful you are in the form of taking care of yourself. It's something so awesome. I believe it's really awesome anyway. So yeah, wow, what a beautiful message for this Monday morning. And I feel like there's something else coming through. So while I let that sink, because I'm seeing nature right now, the trail where I was in, I just want to share with you guys that I made it to the second round of Yoga Warrior. So if you haven't seen my messages and stuff, the one that wins gets to be featured in Yoga Journal and wins $10,000. So with $10,000, I'm setting up a nonprofit organization to help people through their awakening process. So we're on the second round, and the votes are still going until the 7th, which I think is this week sometime. So you can still vote for me. The link is in my bio. Send me a message if you don't really have the link, and you can get a free vote every day. Or you can donate to help for this yoga project that is going on for people that have like PTSD. They are also like do yoga for them to like go back into their balanced state. Yeah. So anyways, okay, so and thank you, by the way. I'm so grateful for all your support in that, because I mean I kind of lost the space all those weeks because I was going through very challenging moments. And then when I looked and I made it, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So it felt so good to be supported. Thank you. Okay, so going into these messages of, so the link is in my bio. I can send you the link directly if you send me a message. And the other message of nature, it's about the trees, it's about the wind, yeah? So there's the communication that happens between the trees and the wind, because the wind actually uses the trees and the leaves to communicate with different animals, but at the same time to communicate with you, because we're also animals, yeah? And here is just like more of the subtle codes of awakening that go from the wind into the trees, from the trees into the leaves, back into the wind, and it passes into you. So pay attention when you're in nature, especially when it's very quiet and there's no wind, and all of a sudden there's a big burst of wind that comes through and it touches your face and it moves the hair. So there are so many codes of awakening right there in the remembrance, because again, the wind has been here forever. Depending on like where you are, the trees have been there for a really long time, and they have witnessed so many things, and they have so much to share, and they get shared through the wind. So pay attention to that. Close your eyes or look at the trees very gently and invite those codes and that invitation in, opening up that communication with them, because they're so special and they're so powerful, and they can really guide you with anything, honestly. Honestly, they have been really life-saving moments in my life with the trees and the wind. So yeah. I wish I could show you my puppy. He's sleeping right here. But it would be kind of difficult moving everything there. But anyways, okay, you guys, I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have an amazing, amazing week. Today is very exciting here in Lawrence, Kansas, because the college basketball got to be in the final, which is today. So it's like the entire city shut down, really. I was like, whoa, there's a big party going on. So anyways, I love you, I love you, I love you. Pay attention to the wind, And at the same time, remember that that core of you that ignites, is always ignited and is never not working. Yeah. So as you continue to tune in into that guidance, that grip on the top layer that is not you with all those conditions and stories will be able to be faced to you. And then you can tune in into helping yourself integrate that. And if that is something that is very challenging for you, send me a message, you know. Here, this is exactly what I do, and I love what I do. And again, it's something so dear to me to witness you going back into your power, into your strength, into your truth, and us. Because again, we're not different, and that big connector from you to me is the same from us to everybody else and everything else on the planet. So much love, so much love. I'll be sending a message, a light language transmission on the Telegram group right now. If you'd like to join, I send light language messages and some other little thingies too once in a while in the Telegram group that I have, which is free to join. And you can just listen to the messages whenever you want. So send me a message or just click on the link in my bio. Okay, ciao, peace.